All right. Okay, so credits form. Okay, now, so that's the name of the thing. Okay, now this thing is the caption for the form. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to click on the caption and I want to change this as well, and I want to name this credits. Okay, so do not neglect, okay, to change these things from the default names. Otherwise, things will get really confusing. Okay. All right. So that's the credits. That's the form we have here. All right. So let's go back here. All right. Now we're going to look at the label. Okay. So the label, there are two different types of controls that enable you to display text. Actually, more than two. One of them is the label form, which is the label control, which we're going to talk about today. And this is used to display text. It can still be dynamic, but it's going to display text that the user can't change. There's another thing called the text box, and the user can change that, but we're not onto that yet. We're going to do that maybe next week. Okay, so there's a thing called the label, a control called the label, and it has a caption property just like the form, the user form does. And so the syntax is going to be whatever the label name is, dot, and then caption. Okay, so you can actually put in, you can make this gets stuck in there either at runtime, okay, or you can also do it at design time, okay, which you're doing it statically. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you both ways, okay, how to do this. All right, so let's go back here. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go to my toolbox and I need to get a label control. This is the label control. And I'm going to stick a label control on there. You can also drag it depending upon what size you want. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this label control. And one of them is, okay, I'm going to erase this. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. Okay, so I'm going to make the caption nothing. Okay, so I can make it nothing, or I could put the caption in there like that, okay, and it would appear there. And you can do different things like you can align it, okay, here. This is one of those cases of a drop-down text box, okay. You can I just centered it. There's a bunch of other stuff that you can do to this that is important. Some of it doesn't make any difference, but this is some of the stuff that you can do. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's the label control. Okay, so if I do it now, okay, if I hard code this thing in now, what I'm doing is I'm doing it at design time. Okay, I'm not having the caption property. I'm not having the caption property imposed or executed at runtime. It's at design time. Okay, so you can stick anything you want in here. The disadvantage of doing it this way is it gets a little bit cumbersome if you have a lot of text that you need to put in there. It gets kind of cumbersome, and so frequently, if it needs to be dynamic, you have to do it during runtime. But if it's a long, complex thing, it's sometimes easier to do it during runtime as well. All right. So now then here is a thing called the command button, and the command button is used to execute code. Okay. And the way you access the code that you're going to put in there is by double-clicking on the button. Okay, so again, you want to name everything mnemonically. Okay, so I'm going to call mine OKBut, and the way you're going to do it is the button name dot caption is equal to something, and what that's going to do, it's going to be what is displayed on the button. Okay, so. Everybody's seen those buttons where they force you to read something. You have to click OK on it before we can go. Okay, so that's what we're going to do is we're going to stick a command button on there. Okay, so this thing here. Okay, now you got to make sure you know which one it is. Okay, so don't stick the wrong control on there. Okay, so this is the command button. Okay, and I'm going to stick it down there. And so obviously I don't want it to say that. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to change the name of this thing, and I'm going to call it OKBut. And then I'm going to put the caption on there. I'm going to change this.
Click the caption.
You guys must be a bunch of very prim people. Usually when I say okay, but there's accompanied by a lot of snickering. It's a convention. Okay. Alright, so I now have a label, and I now have a button on there. Okay? So if I were to run this program, okay, if I were to run this program by pressing this little thing here, okay, what would happen is the screen, this screen would come up. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start doing this here in a minute. Okay. And this is basically what your first assignment is. You learn that you need to have in it. You need to have a situation where when the workbook is opened, okay, we want to control it. We want the credits form to be shown, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to the Project Explorer, go to the workbook, and we're going to execute some code associated with workbook open. And then when this form shows up, what I want you to have on there is your name, okay, VBA assignment number 1, okay, and the date, okay, using a label. And I want you to assign the label caption value during runtime, and we're going to do that when the form itself loads. Okay, there's a property call or an event called initialize. So when the form is told to load, it loads itself, but what it does is it executes the code that it does when it initializes itself to show. Okay, then we're going to create a command button that clears the form, exits the form completely, which is going to be what the OK button is, and the code that we're going to put in there is the unload me code. Okay, so that's an actual programming statement. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to do all this now. Okay, so like I said, you generally want to try something, and you don't want to get too far along, because if you get too far along, then you're going to get about 1,000 errors. You're not going to know what you're going to be doing. Okay, and so this is just making sure that my form comes up as I want it to. Okay. Let me get out of here. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this workbook, and I'm going to go to this part here, this workbook, where it says open. And what this does is when the workbook itself, the Excel workbook opens, and we're going to try this to make sure everything works, I want something to happen. And so what I want to have happen is I want my credits form, okay, to be shown. Okay, so the code is credit form, okay, which is the window, the form, and I want it to show. I want it to be shown. And then there's a thing called modal. If you put a 1 there, okay, what that means is it's modal. And what that means is you have to negotiate that form first before you can go on. Okay, so that's what's going to happen when I open the workbook. Okay, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to open it back up, and so my form will appear here. Okay, all right. So that part's good. Okay, now I want my code, instead of it being a design time, I want my form, okay, to come up, okay, and so that's under initialize. Okay, so when my form gets shown, my credits form gets shown, I want this procedure to execute. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to dynamically display contents of label. Okay, now in order to put a comment in VBA, the way you do that, so you can write something without the code being in there, is by putting a what is that called? Apostrophe? Is that what it's called? Yeah, apostrophe, I guess. Okay, all right. So you put that in there, okay, and the code does not get executed. Okay, so what's my thing called? Did I name my label? What did I call my label?
Okay,
Okay,
but
now, see? Practicing bad things already. Okay, credits, LBL. Okay, so I'm gonna call it credits LBL. Okay, so even though I have this, okay, I'm gonna actually change that. I'm gonna blank this out. Okay, so what that means is in design time I have nothing in there. Okay, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use the design time here to insert something in there. Okay, so I had my control, and my property is caption, and I'm gonna have to say something. Okay, all right, so for my first cut at this, okay, I'm just gonna try to make sure I get this working. Okay, so what'll happen is that this thing will appear. Okay, now.
Is that an equal sign between?
Yeah, this is an equal sign here. Okay, now what have I not done yet that I really should have done at this point? I should have saved. Okay, so I'm not going to save. I'm not going to say I was telling you need to do it. Okay, but I should really save this. Okay, because I don't think this is like too sophisticated. But at this point, unless I wanted to redo all this, I would really need to save it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, okay, is I'm now going to run this program again. Okay, and uh-oh, that's not good. Credits form caption.
SB.
Called it the wrong thing. Credits LBL. Okay. Did anybody notice that it changed this thing by accident? Somebody noticed that? Okay, there we go. All right, so IND 2331, computing for engineers. Okay, my thing is not wide enough. Okay, so I now need to change that, and I can make it wider. And I think I've still got it centered, so it should work. Okay. All right. Now. Okay, so that part worked. Okay. Now another thing that you need to do is we need to have some kind of control of the program using the command buttons. Okay. And so when I double click on the command button, the code that I have here is going to be executed. Okay, so the command statement to get rid of it is unload me. Okay, and so now when I do this, okay, it should stop. Okay, it stops the program. Now, when we get more sophisticated and we have like a quit menu and all that for your application, we want to insulate us from them doing weird things. So we're actually going to hop completely out of the worksheet once we say we're done. We want to hop completely out of the worksheet and even close Excel down. Okay, all right, so then now the thing that I need to make sure that works, I guess I will have to save it. Okay, let me do one more thing here. Okay, we'll try this. Okay, let's say, like in your assignments, you need to put more than one thing in there. I can do this. One line. I'm going to create a temporary variable. I'm just going to call it temp. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stick on some additional text here. What's today's date? 29th? September 16, 2016. Okay, now, if I did this, okay, what would happen is it would just glue it on together and it would look kind of stupid. And so if I wanted to put it on another line, I need to do something. And see if I can remember the code. I think this will do it. Okay, and so what this is, it's a carriage return. If I remember the right ASCII code, it's a carriage return. So if I did this properly, what will happen is it'll put the thing in here with the carriage return on the end, and then the second line, will add on, what it had on the first line, and I could actually put down here, I could, depending upon how many lines I could have, I could just put this on here now. If you had, I think you guys have to put your name on here too, so you'd actually have to have 3 lines. But in my case, I only need to have 2 lines, so let me try that. See what happens. Uh-oh, I spelled it wrong. Oh, 2 S's. Yeah, you guys are supposed to catch me when I do this. Sometimes, okay, well, what happened there? That's odd. Let's see what happened there. Computing for engineers. That's very odd. Temp is equal to this. You should have put the carriage return on there. What's the other code for a carriage return? It's like a carriage return type of thing. 32. I'm gonna have to do an internet search. Don't use 32. 32 doesn't seem like it works right. There's another code. I'll figure out what it is. Oh, let's do this. I might be able to get to the internet here. Nope. Yeah, maybe. Let's try this. Which one? This one? Let's try this. Okay. ASCII code for carriage return. Can't they just give me the answer? Well, that's